Please welcome founder and CEO at RedCat, Jeff Thompson.
Well, thanks everyone, and thanks Palantir for having me. My name's Jeff Thompson. I'm founder and CEO of RedCat. So, what does RedCat do? We design and manufacture drones for the warfighter. We build stuff. And we are here to talk about warp speed. But we're also here to talk about visual navigation that enables our drones to fly on the battlefield when others can't. So this is the RedCat family of systems. On top there, you'll see the Edge 130. It's a fixed-wing, vertical takeoff and landing drone that's rucksackable, it's portable. It has the longest flight time on the Blue UAS list that you need to be on to sell to defense. Down below that on the left, you'll see the Black Widow. This is the drone that just won a large program of record with the US Army for 14,000 aircraft, one of the largest acquisitions for aircraft for the DoD. And then you'll see the FANG, FPV drones. If you've been listening to anything about Ukraine, you know about FPV. And you're going to need to make millions of these in the United States if we want to catch China and Russia. And then we have WEB, which is the Warfighter-Enabled Bridge. And that ties everything together. So this is perfect timing for RedCat to become a warp speed customer. We acquired FlightWave late last year, and the Edge 130 has never been mass produced. Implementing warp speed now during LRIP, low rate initial production, is great timing. FlightWave is based here in California. Same for the Black Widow. The Black Widow is also in LRIP and about to go into mass production. As I mentioned, we have to build 14,000 aircraft. So this is crucial for us to get warp speed up and running before we get into this mass production. And then finally, if you're not following this, but the FPV Annex, basically another program of record for FPV drones, will be hitting late next year. And we need to build millions of these drones, not just RedCat. But that's a lot of production and a lot of things that we'll have to build. So having 3 to 5 factories across the United States in different geographical locations is a huge challenge. And we believe that having warp speed will make this more manageable and much more seamless. So now it's time to geek out. So let's talk visual navigation. GPS does not work on a battlefield. They're done. End of story. And recently, the Army told me, just a few weeks ago, that their largest problem is GPS-denied locations. So what is visual navigation? So I'm going to steal this analogy from Rob Image from Palantir that he did a great job on recently at one of our meetings, is a lot of people here in Palo Alto, you're going to leave here today, and you know where you live, you're going to walk home. So you're going to go outside, you're going to hear cars, you're going to see traffic signals, and you have a map in your head. And you're going to say, how am I going to get home? So you take a turn because you know where you're going, you compare it to the map in your head, you eventually get to your house, say, that's my house, and you walk in. Well, that's visual navigation. So we're actually going to be putting this on the Black Widow. So there's 3 methods that they utilize for visual navigation. First, we'll start with telemetry. So you've got pitch, you've got roll, you've got yaw, you've got accelerometers, and that's basically all a FPV drone has. But you're getting some position on what that drone is doing from telemetry. It's not completely useful, and you couldn't really use it as a GPS. Next you actually have is optical flow. Now that's we have cameras on the belly of the drone, we have cameras on the front. So if I'm looking at this wall right here and I move this way, I have that flow, I stop. I move this way, I'll have more optical flow. I'll start knowing direction. And on quad drones, like the Black Widow, if I go forward or if I go backwards, I'm getting more information. If I combine this with the telemetry optical flow, it's a little bit better, but still not really that useful. The third thing that we need is reference matching. So basically, we have a map of that region on the drone. We take these cameras, we match the map that's on the cameras, combine this with optical flow and telemetry, and now you have lock, just as good as a GPS. So now you have a complete GPS alternative. But what happens when the maps change? This happens in war all the time, specifically in Gaza. If you have a map one day, the next day it's useless. There's a very important company in Israel that's doing visual navigation, and it's not working because they don't have access to real-time maps. That's where I think Palantir is going to dominate in the visual navigation space. I can actually have maps updated, I wouldn't say by the minute, but every day I'll have new maps, which means that drone can get back in the fight. Otherwise, it's a paperweight. So that's exciting. But every time I get someone excited about visual navigation, they say, well, what about nighttime? And, well, that's kind of an important point because RedCat's tagline is, dominate the night. So if you look at what this is going on this screen up here, this is not a user interface. This is just under the hood stuff that Palantir uses to actually demonstrate how this is working. Now, they're using visible light, infrared, multispectral data, a lot of fancy words. And for us here is just say it works at night and it works with clouds, which is so important because almost all missions are done at night. So that's a lot of information about visual navigation. It allows RedCat to fly when others can't. But first, we have to build them. And Warp Speed will help us do this quicker, faster, more reliable, and most importantly, more profitable. Thanks for having me.